All right, all right. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the pandemic special episode of Aliens on the Border. This is your host, Rajan Amidas, and Josh is quarantined, a quarantine cutie right now because he's been exposed multiple times through all the dangerous activities that he does. And I am barely coming out of quarantine. He got to do a solo episode. I'm going to do as many solo episodes as I can. I've got a special guest with me here today, and I'll introduce him right after the intro.
Aliens on the border.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
Faster than light, spaceship of the future.
By direction of the President of the United States, stay in your home.
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly?
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust, there is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy. True.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension?
Is this the human race of the future?
Aliens on the border.
All right. Hey, what's up? What's going on, everyone? Like I mentioned in the intro, this is an episode that I'm going solo for. Haven't done this in a while, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking if I'm not lying. I'm not, it's weird to even though everybody says that I a whole bunch more than anybody else on the podcast. This is a little strange for me. So I brought somebody else who talks just as much. So let's give it up for Jorge, not George, because I called him George incorrectly. So, what's going on, man?
So it's going pretty good. You're not all alone today, Roger. You had your hand on the table. I was gonna say that, put my hand on your hand, but you moved your hand, so
that's a dangerous activity now.
Oh shit! Yeah, we gotta be sanitized.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of the talk right now, there's a few things that I want to kind of cover today. And I invited George on here just because my favorite topic is talking about the comedy stuff. Right. George is Jorge. Fuck, man. I keep getting it wrong. Jorge is I want to say one of the newer or the newest kind of like face on the scene in terms of doing stand-up comedy. He's been at it for about how long now?
I think I had started in April of last year, 2021. Mm-hmm. Last year was 2021, right? Yeah. We're in 2022 now. 2020 part 2.
Right.
But, yeah. So April 2021 was when I started going a little more consistently and hitting up open mics, and heck, man, it's been a fun experience so far, and I look forward to more.
Well, so like it's interesting to me to see people come into the scene like newly, and like I think everybody has kind of like the optimistic approach where they're like, oh, everybody's gonna get along, and it's stand-up comedy, and it's a lot of fun. I think you've gotten your own experience, or your own fair share of like seeing what it's like. Could you kind of tell me what you feel it looks like?
Oh yeah, in terms of the comedy gang wars and gang violence.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, the gang wars. I'm curious, just out of like your perspective.
Yeah.
What sides do you see existing in the comedy gang war in Laredo?
Oh well, I don't know if I should name names or not, but
nobody cares, honestly.
Well, for me personally, I'm like an independent agent or independent comedy guy. So I like, I'm not in any side in particular. I got started going to the Classic Tavern in April. It's close by my house, and I would just see, I don't know, maybe Steven or someone like posting about open mics at Classic Tavern. That's kind of close to my house. So I had been writing my own like original jokes for a while. Like I'd say a few years before I started, just like in my phone notes, like when I thought of a good one, and I'd like go around to my coworkers at the Alamo Draft House and just annoy them because I was bored and just tell them my freaking jokes I'd think of. And I probably was the biggest fan of my and so I felt like taking it to the next level and hitting some stages and open mics and stand-up comedy, taking it to the stand-up comedy field. And anyway, yeah, back to the comedy gang wars and gang violence. I've been doing
violence.
Yeah. whole lot of that. You got to watch out. Be very careful.
Just drive-bys up and down here. I'm
Yeah.
watching my back all the time. There's a target on my
People
back.
throwing microphones, beating each other to death with microphones. I've witnessed it, man, firsthand. But I've been working at the Cultura Beer Garden since August of 2021, and there Roger is a host / co-host of the Mic Drop, which is the comedy showcase.
It's an open mic.
Open mic comedy.
You'd think it was a showcase.
Yeah, right.
But it's an open mic.
Yeah, the open mic, which I think is which is at Cultura Beer Garden, and I think it's probably the most popular in terms of how big of a crowd it usually gets in Laredo.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like probably the most successful open mic that's like consistent, and in terms of also the audience being consistent as well.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun. And also since I work there, it's been cool being pretty consistent, whether I'm on the clock or not. Thankfully, I mean, open mics, you only get 5 minutes to do your set each time. So if I'm working that day, I'll have someone else, another bartender, come and cover me for those 5 minutes that I go up and do my set. And thankfully, it's like a local business, and they're not too strict and hard on your ass, and like with their breathing on the back of your neck and shit. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky and grateful to have that job, and as a beer tender, I'm a big fan of craft beer too, you could say. But yeah, it's been so cool getting to. I started trying out those mic drops at Cultura before I started working there too. I did a few before working there, but then once I started working there, I was hitting all of them every 2 weeks when they'd have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be weekly, actually. You know, just not that long. We had weekly mics, and then whenever this started, COVID kind of demanded that we swing to do bi-weekly mics. So it's kind of weird to kind of see that. Oh, you know what? I just had a thought. Just a little housekeeping note. I'm going to put this on as premiering on the Aliens on the Border page. So those of y'all that are watching, if you start commenting and are wondering why we're not reading comments, it's because it's not live. This is pre-recorded, and that's just because we had some limitation issues with the Wi-Fi where we're currently at Los Olvidados. So, but back to the topic. You mentioned one thing that I thought was really interesting. You said I'm an independent comic. Do you think I'm an independent comic?
I'd say so, because you do go to the other, like, other people that run open mics. You hit those up too.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you're also a live comedy or open mic like producer, since you host your own open mics,
right?
And which are some of the most successful ones in town.
So you think you think we're clicked up because it's the mic drop versus like other entities?
Maybe so, because I know.
I knew it, dude.
Like,
fuck, that's weird.
I'll mention. I mean, Laredo Funny has some really great funny peeps.
Name them.
Well, the guy that kind of inspired me to really hit open mic comedy or just stand-up comedy is Esteban Gonzalez.
Esteban.
Fucking love Esteban.
Yeah. If there's anybody that I think I get along with the most in that group of people, it's probably Esteban and Fred. I mean, I get along with all of them. I just think that I've butt heads with a couple of the other ones more than anything else. But
yeah.
It's weird that you say that, because I kind of feel like in this kind of thing, whenever there is like we'll say like a clique, right? Whenever there is a clique or whatever it might be, like a group of people, and you're not part of that group, if you consider yourself independent, you're automatically clicked up with a group of the other independent comics.
Oh,
everybody, there's no such thing as mic drop comics, right? So like everybody else that's not part of like LF, right? It'll be like, like Mario, Eric, Ivan, Josh, you, who else? Orly, any comic that's just not part of the roster. Like I it's funny because it's like if you're not part of the LF crew, then automatically it kind of feels like you're part of another crew that's like, unintentionally opposing them. So like me and Franny have been dealing with that for a minute, right? and it's kind of a repetitive conversation, which is why I didn't really want to I don't want to dive into it all that much. But I was just curious what your perspective on it was, because I kind of feel like maybe we haven't had this kind of chat ever, you know?
Yeah.
When I got into the scene, there was very much a huge divide between people that were just, and it's weird to see how much it's grown, right? But it used to just be Aaron Suarez with Laugh Laredo, and then Laredo Funny, and now it's like almost doubled in size since then. And there's a lot of other comics that joined the Laredo Funny fold, and then there's just like us that are just like showing up here. But in terms of like people who get booked more, I definitely like the Laredo Funny crew. They've been all over the place, right? I mean, they're I think like Steve today is up in Odessa, where it's fucking 19 degrees right now.
Oh my!
It's another thing we'll talk about. But this is pre-freeze. I'm calling it right now. There's probably going to be a lot of burst pipes and power outages tomorrow, and I hope that's not the case. But yeah. So that's kind of just the area that I wanted to touch on a little bit in terms of the little comedy talk, I guess. I don't know, man.
Local Laredo.
I do think we have a healthy scene here in terms of like the growth, but COVID has kind of like made that a little like stagnant. And it's been really tough kind of gaining momentum, because you mentioned like I do the the meter fairies outside. Did you put?
Yeah, I got a good hour, 24 minutes. So
Fuck.
It's been.
I did do a good portion of like open mics here and there, kind of gaining momentum. All of them were packed, and then I heard this last one, which is I didn't want to do this whole irresponsibility thing. I got vaccinated. I wear my mask. I sanitize as much as I can, and this last open mic, dude. Did you hear?
I didn't get to go because I had
COVID already.
Got COVID before that one,
right?
And I think it was from working, not performing, but beer tasting for a free show that was on Christmas Day, Christmas night, and I'm not gonna name a name, but someone like. This guy was not too far from the bar. No one was wearing masks too, because it was right before the Omicron.
How many people were at that show?
Dude, it was pretty packed.
Oh yeah, really?
Everyone went. I guess they didn't have anything to do Christmas Day night, so Christmas night, not to be confused with Christmas Eve, but yeah. So people weren't really wearing masks, and it was pretty crowded. There was even a few people from out of town, but this one guy was like sneezing into the back of his hand. Not too far from me, like a few times. Like, not
so you
just
maybe identified that guy as the patient zero.
Perp, probably.
Dude,
yeah.
Get this. So at the last mic, and I'm not fucking bragging about it. I felt really bad about it, but at the last mic, I had 10 people, including 2 comics, message me and tell me that they've tested positive, and they believe they got it from that last mic. But at the same time, everybody was fucking getting it that time. Like in the last
month. Yeah.
The last 3 weeks since Christmas, actually, in the last 3 weeks, the cases have been nuts. They've gone up like exponentially, and I think we kind of hit a peak. I've been staying wary about like going to really crowded places, but I still had like a shit ton of like cabin fever, sort of. Not necessarily that I was like peeved or like anything like that with like any of the people that I was quarantined with, like you know, my girlfriend or her kids, but I kind of felt like I had that itch, right? Like I haven't been able to do comedy in so long, and it's like it's starting to affect me, comedy or podcasting, and because like when I was quarantining, I had told Josh, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it to any of the recordings, and we usually do these like a week out. Like we'll usually record like on a Wednesday, and then upload like on Monday, right? And I wasn't able to make any of those recordings because I was like, shit, dude, I don't know if I had COVID or not, but I tested negative already, and I'm like, good, whatever. But I didn't have this outlet, and this is like a big outlet for me in terms of like being able to talk about things. So, but yeah, so I guess we'll just see how things pan out. I'm hoping to start up the mics again first week of February, depending on cases. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like I don't want it to be like a shit ton of active cases, and then just like, hey, you know what? Let's host another super spreader event. You know?
Oh, for sure. No. Yeah, and you were saying too they might move it to outdoors, possibly.
Yeah, I wanted to do one today, but moving on to that topic, I wanted to do one today. But today, Thursday, January, what are we, 20th?
Yes, I think today is the 20th.
Yeah. So today, there's been weather alerts all day and inclement weather warnings about how there's supposed to be a winter storm coming in. This winter storm coming in is expected to drop everything down to like the 20s, 30s. And they're telling everybody cover your exposed pipes, leave some water running. I'm a little traumatized over what happened last year, so it's kind of a scary thing for me because last year I was in a place where I was like very low mentally, like I was like very depressed. Sure, and then the freeze happened, and I was without power for 4 fucking days.
Oh,
could you imagine that? Like, you know what I was doing around that time? But I maybe don't admit it that much on the podcast. I think around that time we started already kind of transitioning to do a break with Aliens on the Border at that time. So maybe it was like something that I wasn't really prepared for, to not have like an outlet. But in that time, I was I was sitting down in like this empty storage area that I had. And we've recorded in there a couple of times before. My friends jokingly refer to it as the sex dungeon. And in that time, I was just kind of like sitting down, and I had this big ceramic like pot, right, like where like plants go, right, and I would just throw shit in there, and I would light it on fire.
Oh,
to keep warm. And I was sitting down. I would sit down on this old fucking couch that I had, and I was just watching shit burn, and I was just there like with a cigarette, like.
Was it like outdoor kind of? Like, was there any open?
It's not on the inside of my house where I would like, make like a fire. It's like it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like so my old place used to be a Pepsi factory.
Oh shit, cool.
No joke. It was built in 1901. I've moved out of there since. It's nice to have a place with windows, right? But the old place, basically what it was a Pepsi factory that was converted into living units. In those, in the living room, it was just like a giant box. There was no fucking windows anywhere, right? But the layout of it was like you'd walk in, and the first thing that you see was what looks to be or used to be a garage, right? Had a big fucking opening area that was like covered up with wood planks and stuff, and then it was just like. You went to the fucking party.
I went to one party, like in 17 maybe.
It was 19, I think. Had to have been 19 because
wait, maybe so maybe before that, like
we
18,
didn't have one last year, we didn't have one the year before.
It might have been like the first one you had, or it was a Halloween party.
Shit, I don't even remember, dude.
Yeah, it had to be like maybe, I don't know, 20
it was
2019
17? Not that far back.
17 18 maybe 19, I don't know,
because I hadn't moved in there.
It could have been 2019.
I hadn't moved in there until 2018, so it had to have been 19.
Yeah, 2020 when lockdown and COVID, that just made, since then it just felt like the longest.
The time shift has been a little weird. So you've been there in that place where we had the bands playing. That's that spot where once it was all cleared out, at that time, I was only living there with my roommate, and my roommate had moved, or not moved, but she had flown to Mexico City, and she was going to be there for like 3 weeks. So I was by myself, and then the fucking freeze happened, and I had no water. I had a lot of my food spoiled because the power was out, right? And I was just fucking sitting down on, and I had told myself that day, I was like, I'm gonna make it through tonight, like. I'm just going to sleep here tonight, and then I'll see if I can find a place where I can stay tomorrow. Luckily, my phone was charged. I had food for my dog, right? And I had some like canned stuff that I could have eaten. Yeah. It sounded like I was in the fucking wild, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I could picture just eating right out of a can.
It's like fucking all dirty and shit with the cold and just like it was an experience. And I remember around that time I got lucky that one of my friends was like, "Hey, I still have power, and you should come stay over here, like bring your dog." And I felt really bad. Honestly, I was thinking I could probably rough it out until whenever the power comes back on. But I felt really bad for my dog.
Yeah, dude.
Because my dog like was shivering, and I never see him shiver, so it was like really bugging me. And I just said, like, you know, fuck it, like I'm gonna go, and packed everything up, and I left. I went to my friend's place. I stayed there, and I had brought my PlayStation, so it was just like hanging out there playing PlayStation.
Yeah.
And but so like this kind of scares me. Luckily, I'm like living with my girlfriend, and we're comfortable, so like I'm not really worried about something like that happening. But we've like prepped just in case.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you've seen, but like HEB, Walmart, Sam's, it's wiped out.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. That's.
It feels like I'm breaking news to you, dude.
Yeah, like panic. People do that shit. They fucking panic buy, and like they start putting those limits on the amounts of like stuff you could get.
Only 4 chickens, please.
Yeah, man. It's
I don't know why toilet paper was such like a hot item at that point.
Oh yeah.
It feels like we're talking about it for like being like forever ago, but it was just like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
it still feels like I'm still processing 2020, and I'm like in 2022 already.
It was pretty dramatic. Like, I mean, just a huge change that we would have never expected to have to experience in our time.
I'm curious, what was your reaction to the like initial reports coming out? Because it had to have been around this time in 2020 when like the news first started breaking.
Yeah, dude, and we had the worst, like, to get a little political here, sorry. We had like the worst possible president we could have had for this. Like,
whoa, hey, hot take.
Calling, and I'm talking about Mr. Trump here, Donnie Trump. So like he was saying shit. I mean, he's like a freaking super racist, like, and outspoken about that too, like unapologetically. Like he was saying shit like how he would call it the China virus because it started in China, and he'd be like, even I feel bad because my favorite of it, like I would laugh about it. It's still funny to me.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, Kung Flu. That's it, right?
So fucking dumb.
Wait, is that what it's called? Kung Flu.
Flu.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of stuff has changed since then, because I don't want to do this whole like I always give shit to Josh about like, hey, stop spreading vaccine misinformation and stuff like that, because like he you know Josh, right? He's a kind of a big skeptic about things. I love the guy, but when he goes off the rails, he goes off the rails. And like it's always like Joe Rogan-esque stuff too.
He's like a big conspiracy. Like this podcast, usually Aliens on the Border revolves around like conspiracies sometimes.
I think we have like a pretty good balance.
So certain episodes are dedicated to
you'll see, because I mean, so I don't want to spoil the surprise, but we're working on creating a back catalog of episodes, and they're going to be specifically for our patrons for Patreon. So if you like subscribe, and you'll see a link at some point, you're gonna get a little you're gonna get access to you throwing up gang signs this whole time.
Just Superman, the old one.
You're gonna get a back catalog of a bunch of episodes of Josh talking to like his friends, and they're gonna be saying things about whatever it is. I'm not there, right? And I'll have solo episodes too.
Okay. And
you'll see kind of like the distinct difference, because when it's Josh and I, when we're together, typically what happens is he'll play the role of like just batshit, like talking about anything and everything. And he, I don't want to say bad shit because I feel like I'm insulting him. He really goes off the he very what do they call it, red pilled, very red pilled stuff. And then I feel like I'm always the one trying to like kind of like reel him back, like, hey, let's like not go so reactionary. And then he'll also say like, but no, dude, look it up, bro, look it up. And I'm like, all right, cool.
It had to be Bush did 9/11. It's a fact.
So, but here's the thing though, is that like my point to that is like, I think I've taken kind of a backseat to a lot of that discussion, because I do kind of feel like I fell into the camp where everything was very much sensationalized. Not to say it isn't now, of course it is, right? But there's like a lot of stuff at that time where I feel like we were all panicking, and then the media was kind of capitalizing on that panic too. And I could just, I could never be president, dude. I could never. I say shit all the time. Not that I'm racist or anything like that, but if I were to say something and like go off the deep end with people, like I kind of feel at some point like people would, I'd be canceled 100%. 100% I'd be canceled. I would be what was he? I would be impeached.
Impeached, yeah.
I'd be impeached easy. No way I could ever make a career as a politician. I had a hiccup. But I don't know, man. Like at that point, I remember the first day, and it's because it's funny because like Josh and I, we were in a group chat with all of our friends, and Josh was like, "Yo, did y'all see what the CDC just said?" And it was when the CDC released a statement stating that COVID-19 is going to disrupt or cause a severe disruption in everyday normal life. Did you hear that?
So that was early before lockdowns.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like way before lockdowns. That was like already. That was maybe like late January, early February.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, it's not that big a deal. And they were like, everybody was like, we're closely monitoring the situation in China, but it's not that big a deal or whatever, right?
It's just another swine flu or bird
flu.
And
then people started saying, hey, this is going to disrupt like shit nationwide, and then so Josh and I kind of took it to heart, and we prepped actually. Josh and I both bought supplies for what we thought was going to be the entirety of the pandemic, but we were severely mistaken even still. But we prepped for, I think Josh got like 3 months worth of supplies. I got like 2 months worth of supplies. So everything from I didn't fucking mass buy toilet paper, but I got like meat to freeze, a bunch of canned non-perishable stuff, like so I prepped pretty well.
What about generator, gas generator?
Nah, not that much.
Yeah,
but
either.
Then the shutdowns happened. A lot of our friends were like, "That's not gonna fucking happen." I'm like, "Dude, there's gonna be some shutdowns. Like other places are shutting down completely, like curfews, quarantines." It was nuts actually. At some point, there was a whole thing about like, did you ever hear about them saying that there were mass body burnings happening?
What? No.
Yeah. So everything was is still very encased and closed off in Wuhan. But in that area where the pandemic initially, they purport that's where it was starting. They identified through like atmospheric readings that there was like a spike in temperature just off of Wuhan, and people were talking about like vans, like morgue vans that were just driving like to and from areas, and they believe what they were doing is a mass body burn, back shit. Like what like the plague would do. One of the more morbid things that happened here in Laredo, and I'm not sure if you heard this, but in Laredo, what's it called? Is it Jackson Funeral Home, the one that's on Jackman?
Yeah, Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson, okay.
Michael Jackson's father.
Right. So that funeral home got complaints from how much smoke was coming out. Like, it was just like black smoke at the time.
They got a cremation room?
Yeah, dude, they have a cremation room, and so the funeral home responded and was like, "What do you want us to do? A shit ton of people are dying." I don't think we've broken 1,000 deaths here in Laredo though.
Like this year? Or?
No, like in general. I don't know what the figures are, but I'm pretty sure the last time I saw it was like 940 or something.
Definitely over that many cases, but no.
Over cases.
Yeah, I don't know about deaths though.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 9 something. I'm not gonna pull it up right now because I don't feel like it. But So now we've got a freeze. We still got a pandemic. The freeze, hopefully, not as bad as it was that time.
Yeah, last year.
Hope not. Hopefully our power grid is weatherized, although I doubt it. Yeah, man. Let's talk about more catastrophic stuff.
Okay.
What do you think's next year?
Well, when the COVID like lockdowns soon before that started happening, I personally stocked up in plenty of guns and ammo for the zombies.
You really think that would happen? I'm talking serious here. Because,
I'm sorry. No, I didn't really buy. I don't have any guns or ammo. Just messing.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, do you think zombies happen?
Shit.
Did you know the CDC has a preparedness plan for zombies?
No, I didn't know that.
Look it up, dude.
Fuck.
Pull it up right now. I'm telling you, they have. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, right? But it is supposed to. It is supposed to be taken as like a lighthearted way of preparing in the event of like a pandemic or like a disaster. So they have like a step-by-step guide of like how to identify and contain, a virus, right? And how to, obviously nobody read it, case in point, right? But yeah, what else? What were you saying?
Well, I mean, in middle school, I did read not that I'm expecting this to be the next thing, but I did read that zombie survival guide.
Same.
Book
Fuck yeah,
Max
dude.
Brooks.
Same. That's why I got chainmail and a fucking trench spike. They say are the best defenses.
Yeah.
That's an interesting book, man.
It's been a while since I read it. I actually have a story where in middle school, you want to hear the story real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I think I was in 8th grade. So this was in my keyboarding class, I believe. My friend Oscar's mom was the teacher. Oscar Ortiz, shout out, what's up, my boy. But so anyway, this guy in that class, a friend of mine, Benjamin Lopez, just going to drop every name in the story.
You don't have to, honestly, but you can.
In case they see this, they'll be like, oh, that's me. Yeah. But okay, so one day in that class, my keyboarding class, 8th grade, this dude, Ben Lopez, hey, bro, yo, he's like, check it out. And he showed me in his backpack, he had some Playboy magazines. And this was soon before, like, I don't know if I had an iPhone or not, but, like, internet porn was, fun to get into that. Before it was so easily accessible.
It was accessible, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, there was, like, probably had, like, a slide, like, texting keyboard phone.
You didn't have a razor, dog?
I didn't have a razor, but I had one very similar looking to that.
I had a rumor. You remember the rumors?
Yeah. Like
the
that.
Fucking keyboards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I watched plenty.
One for business, one for play. No,
pleasure.
I'm just kidding. No, I had 2 of them because they broke the first one. So
man. But yeah, this guy Ben was like, "Yo, I got some Playboy." Like he showed me he had some Playboy magazines, and I mean, just being 13, 14 years old, I had never had an actual physical, like, form of I guess like pornography, in case you don't have your phone or the internet. And I was just like, sure, man. And he said for only $3. I happen to have the $3 on me, so we did the business exchange in that class. And then I went to the restroom and I saw my friend Aaron Aguilar, and I was like, bro, dude, this guy Ben just sold me a fucking Playboy mag. And he's like, no way, man. He's like, I don't believe it. He's like, I was like, I'll show you, bro. And he's like, okay, so he's like, show me during lunch when the lunch bell rings, because the class was right before lunch, and then so the bell rings and like everyone's in the hallways. He told me to meet him back in the restroom, the boys' bathroom, of course. So I meet him there, and I go into a stall and open my backpack up, and he's standing outside of the stall. We're not inside the stall together, closed. It's open. The door's open. I'm inside the stall. He's outside. And then I pull out the magazine. Playboy. It's my first time looking at it too, because I'm not just gonna bust it out in class and get it confiscated. But anyway, so I'm showing him, I'm like turning the pages, be like, oh, naked man, oh shit, and then so as I'm turning the pages, before I know it, there's a fucking crowd like right outside the stall. Not just him, but for some reason, fucking so many boys were in that boys' restroom, and there's a crowd outside of the fucking door, and then next thing I know, they're all scattering, and I'm like, oh shit. So I just close it up, try putting it in my backpack, and as I'm closing my backpack, a security guard comes to the stall, and he just like does this, like give him my backpack. I'm like, fuck. So like I just spent $3, man. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
You didn't get it back?
Well, what happened was he escorted me. He took my backpack and escorted me to, he like opened the backpack and I was like, it's just a fucking Playboy mag. Come on, man to man. Come on, don't rat me out. But he had to narc it out. He had nothing better to do. So yeah, he escorted me to the assistant principal's office, who was like an elderly man. I think his name is Mr. Martinez at Trotman Middle School.
Shout out, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, he's a goat. Good guy. But Yeah, I mean, questionable because what happened was, I go to the assistant principal's office and he sees that I have a Playboy magazine. He just opens his desk, puts the magazine in his drawer, and closes it. Saves it for later, for sure. And then he like has a security guard like dump out everything in my backpack. And what he ended up questioning more was not the Playboy, but in my backpack I had the Zombie Survival Guide book by Max Brooks. And he was like, "What is this? Zombie Survival Guide?" He's like, "Why would you have this in school?" And I was like, "I mean, it's fun. It's educational, even."
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. Yeah, everybody kind of dismisses it. We'll talk about it in a bit.
And I specifically remember him saying, "Okay, what is educational about knowing how to make a Molotov cocktail?" Because he saw like a little drawing of it in the book.
But it doesn't
and, like,
actually explain that, right?
I mean, I think so. Like, to like fight off like crowds of zombies. Like,
but I mean, it doesn't explain how to make one, right? Like,
I think it might have.
Oh,
but
shit.
it's not like I'm fucking making Molotovs and taking them to school or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, he made way more big of a deal, and he confiscated my survival guide book. And he was like, either get one of your parents to come pick it up for you, or wait till the last day of school to get the book back. So I was like, fucking dude, like, man, I was kind of annoyed by that. And
damn, so he not only did he get your survival guide, he also got your porno mag.
Yeah.
So not only is he prepared for the zombie apocalypse, he has content.
Yeah, hope he doesn't get tired of
Jesus.
the same.
I have an embarrassing story that you just kind of like had like a memory unlock moment while you were telling me about that. I for a while, right, like, you know, the internet was around, right? We used to be able to go and just free use the have free use of the library computer sometimes. You'd finish your work early, you can go to the library, play, I don't know, cool math games or whatever, right? Like
And what school? Like what grade?
Mini clips. I must have been in 6th grade when this happened.
Okay.
I had a librarian who we all knew because, oh, you know what? Yeah, it had to have been 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade. I don't remember. But the librarian was friends with my mom, right? They were like work friends.
Oh, yeah.
And the librarian's name was Mrs. Balls, right? and so she had the nickname Mrs. Balls, right?
Naturally.
It was naturally, that's where they're going to go, right? And Mrs. Balls was always really cool with me, though. So there were times, I had a stupid fucking substitute one time who, once I finished all of my work, she was like, "Well, why don't you research something?" I'm like, "Well, okay." And she was like, I was like, "What do you want me to research?" She goes, "You should research something about space." And I was like, "I know everything about space." But not really, but it's because I was like a fucking nerd, right? Like, yeah. I used to read science books like on like for fun, and my mom would buy me all the little science experiment kits. I was convinced that when I was growing up, I was either gonna be like a chemist or like some kind of like bioscientist, right? I'm just not good at math, so once I learned that, it kind of crushed my dreams. But naturally, I was very inclined to a lot of the science stuff, and she said something like, "Well, why don't you learn something about like our solar system? Like, why don't you find out how the moon makes light?" And I was like, "I already know that. It doesn't make its own light. It reflects the light from the sun."
Obvi.
And then she's like, "No, it doesn't." And I'm like, "Hold on. How are you my substitute teacher right now?"
What?
And she goes, "No, it doesn't. It makes its own light." And I'm like, "How?" And she goes, "It has to do with the materials in the rock that it's made out of." I'm like, "No, it doesn't. Like it reflects light. It reflects light from the sun. It doesn't make its own light." And then she was like, "Then how come you can see it at night and in the day?" And I'm like, "Well, because it still fucking reflects." Like, what do you mean? And then so she's like, "Go research it in the library and then come back to me with a little like 1-page report or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, all right, sure, I'll do that." And I went, and all I did, just to be an asshole, all I did was I went and I just Googled, or you know what? I didn't Google. I used Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves. Yes.
And I was like, "Where does the moon get its light from?" And then it was like the light from the moon is reflected from the sun. And then I was like, "Cool." And I did like Control P and like I fucking printed it out and I just kept that. And I was like, "Here's your 1-page report, bitch." But like I kept it with me, and then I stayed as a horny little teenager in the library, and I decided to try something out that I had heard. A lot of my little horny teenage friends had said that if you Google certain things, it gets past the school filter. So and not only that, they also taught me how to wipe your internet history and clear the cache and all that other stuff. So IT can't figure out who fucking searched this up or whatever. So I was like, bet. And I went and I went and I went to Google lowrider bitches.
Okay.
Because my friends had said this is how you're gonna find all the hottest naked chicks, lowrider bitches. And it was always like pictures that I would see them Google, right? And it was always pictures of like chicks just kind of like topless up against a car or whatever, right?
That's what I was wondering.
And yeah, it wasn't chicks that were like dressed as lowriders or whatever, right? It was Transformers or whatever. No, so I was like, I'm gonna try it out for myself. I'm gonna Google it. And I went and I typed it in, I Googled, and I after scrolling, I mean, I was about to scroll to some stuff. But then I saw Mrs. Vols walking towards me, and so immediately I did the whole go into internet preferences, delete, erase stuff, and I couldn't fucking do it that fast enough because it would, you remember the old fucking school computers?
They're slow.
They were slow as shit.
Damn it.
So she gets there. Little did I know, I had misspelled bitches. So she comes up behind me, and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing there?" Right, and she starts like looking, and she sees that I have the fucking internet preference things open, and she's like, "What are you doing there?" And I'm like, "Nothing,"
Mind your business.
I was like, "Nothing," and then she's like, and then she like gets in next to me and starts scrolling, and then she sees the word lowrider bitches, and it was misspelled, so it was like lowrider bithith or some bullshit. And lowrider biffs, and then she just kind of looks at me and she gives me that straight look of disappointment, like, and she's like, "Go to your class right now." And I was like, "Okay." And they didn't. Luckily, she was the homie. She didn't say anything to my mom or to my teachers. Hi, Mom. And I took that little thing, that little, what was it? The report. And I just gave it to her. And she's like, "This is an Ask Jeeves page." And I was like, "Well, you should have asked Jeeves, bitch." and then that was it. I didn't have internet access at home, so like I didn't really get into the whole internet stuff until maybe like freshman year high school, maybe 8th grade. I don't know, but
yeah,
definitely mags were a big part of it too. And in school there was this fabled DVD that would get passed around through all the guys.
Wow.
You never had anything like this aside from the mag that you bought?
I had a friend give me a DVD once. I don't know if he also asked for money for it, but this is probably like 6th grade, like pretty early. And like he gave me this DVD. I think it was his dad's, and he just like took it. And I think it was like a really old, like even maybe Mexican produced like porn videos. And they were pretty gross. Like I remember watching it. I was like, this isn't even good porn. Like it wasn't even.
What constitutes good porn at that age?
I mean, I guess the quality. I mean, if you look back at,
did you need a plot line?
Vintage porn. Oh, no.
Vintage porn. What is?
I would call it that. I mean, stuff before. This was maybe like 2010 or 09, maybe even 08. But like just really poorly produced, but not like amateur. But I don't know. I don't. These people weren't very sexually appealing to my middle school opinion or whatever.
So 2010 is vintage to you?
No. I mean like before 2000s maybe, like 90s.
Oh, okay.
So like 80s, where there's music.
80s, 90s.
There's music.
Yeah, that's true. They used to have music in them, and they don't now, right? Like it used to be like,
yeah,
right? And
funky, sexy.
Yeah, funky, sexy.
Dude,
and now it's just, what are you doing, step bro?
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Do Thanks, step bro.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then just get straight to it. Well, shit, man. I did not expect to go down this road of conversation, honestly.
Organic transition.
Yeah,
but
and making everybody in the coffee shop uncomfortable.
Oh, I hope not. Hopefully getting good memories like us. Yeah.
What did I want to talk about? We were talking about the zombie thing. The zombie survival guide is pretty interesting because it's like, it's an informed take, I think, on like the whole topic, because it goes into like the history of zombies and like the there's a word for it. Am I nomenclature? I don't remember. I don't know the fucking word for it. But there was this whole like culture behind it that they were like, oh yeah, like this started back during like the witch doctor voodoo times. The time that, I mean, not to say that those times are gone, because I know there's still plenty of that in certain cultures, but it talks about the origin of it, or the idea of like mindless, like mind controlled, what would you
bringing the dead back to life?
Bringing the dead back to life.
Yeah, resurrecting.
Like,
maybe with spells or magic or witchcraft.
Exactly.
Necronomicon, if that is that old.
With Necronomicon, the necromancy is the stuff. Yeah, so a lot of that stuff kind of like formed this idea of like, oh yeah, this is what happens now in terms of like, zombies, and how it turned into like a pop culture thing. Yeah. Which was the George Romero stuff.
George Romero, yes.
Yeah, and it goes into it, and I think it's pretty well informed. But it does talk. There are some areas where it talks about like what you should wear, what you should avoid, what you should drive. What's your transport?
Yeah, bicycle was
the top one. Yeah. What kind of weapons you should have. It was like crossbows and hand-to-hand stuff. And then what kind of clothing should you wear?
Machete is pretty good.
Yeah. A lot of the clothing stuff was like, don't wear anything loose fitting.
Yeah, they'll grab you by the hood and
cut your hair.
Tight down.
It talked about the biology of like fictional zombie, like what it would be like if they're still like, what kind of zombies are we gonna get? Are we gonna get George like rambling, like just shambling zombies,
slow decaying corpses?
So are we gonna get the 28 days later zombies, rage virus?
We'd be fucked with those.
Absolutely, yeah. Or the World War Z zombies. It's also a Max Brooks thing, but
well, the movie is very different, right?
The movie's not anything close to it. But in the movie, the World War Z movie, those kind of zombies climbing up on each other.
They have like super strength, kind of.
Yeah,
kind of like.
I've been meaning to rewatch those movies, but I haven't, because my girlfriend has a huge like anxiety about death, and that kind of awakens it for her whenever she's like, like The Walking Dead. She said she watched like 2 episodes and she was like, "Fuck that! Like, I don't ever want to see this series again." And she made the right choice, because it's kind of garbage now. But it's been garbage for like 4 seasons.
Yeah, I think it's on its last season. I heard this last one's picked up because there's a new like showrunner, writer. I haven't watched it since like the beginning of season 4. That's when I dropped out. But I did watch the show when it started, and I
think the prison season was like kind of the best. And then after that, I just kind of like, there's too many things going on.
Yeah. I think that prison one was season 3.
Yeah.
And that's
whenever they killed the Carl's mom, that part was the best. I hated her.
Yeah.
But yeah. So in terms of cataclysmic events, I had this conversation with Josh not too long ago. We kind of jokingly made a betting pool over like what's going to happen next, right? Over the last 2 years, we've had the pandemic, we've had close to World War III, we've had a huge social activism kind of like upheaval thing that ended up in like a lot of things like rioting and people kind of saying that we're on the cusp of civil war. And then we've had a lot of no sir, hold on. Hey, so we're gonna go on a brief pause here. I don't know if I'll be able to stitch this together.
Maybe part 1, part 2, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2. There's been an accident, so we've got to log off of here.
BRB.
And we're back. Yeah, so there was a little bit of an accident here. We had to help a gentleman who fell and kind of derailed the conversation a little bit. Not to say that it's anyone's fault, right? But what were we talking about last? So we're gonna do a quick like 10-minute wrap, and then we're gonna get going.
I think we're talking zombies. Zombies.
Oh, cataclysmic events. So
yeah,
we did like a little betting pool over what's the next thing, right? And I was doing a little bit of a wrap up. In the last year, we've seen things like riots happening, huge social unrest. You know, all over the place. Just like it feels like a lot of craziness going on. If you wanna read into something today and talk about like the whole idea about how the world actually ended like 10 years ago or something like that. Have you ever heard that?
No.
You've never heard the
like simulation kind of shit?
No. So we'll end on this. It's a pretty interesting note, and I'll have you back when we have a little more of a chill format. But so the idea is that in 2012, when they said the whole Mayan calendar thing was going to expire,
12/21/12, yeah.
Right? In that time, they had said that there was going to be, I think it's like June 12th. I don't remember.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. When they said it was going to end, it was actually June 12th or something like that.
I don't know, because they had enough time to make the movie 2012 with John Cusack.
Yeah,
and it came out soon before that date. So everyone was pretty freaking.
It was insane. It was actually a decent movie. Actually, it's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
The more recent one that's come out in terms of like fear mongering, like cataclysmic, world-ending stuff was what was it?
Don't Look Up.
No. Don't Look Up was good,
Oh, yeah.
and actually that leads me to my next thing, and just put a pin in that. But there was Geostorm. That was the other thing that they said was going to come out.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. So anyway, we've seen all these crazy events happen back to back in the last 2 years, right? The Josh and I were talking about what's next, right? Sorry, I totally ditched the 2012 thing. They believe that the world ended. Not when I say they, I mean like plenty of like conspiracists. They believe that the world ended in 2012 when the Large Hadron Collider was turned on. And they believe that this happened because what we might have done was when we discovered the God particle, right, which is supposed to be like one of the heaviest.
DMT?
Huh?
DMT?
No, what the fuck?
Oh no, that's a spirit molecule.
That's a spirit molecule. The God particle is supposed to be like the building block of like everything, right? It's like what makes up atoms, right? Like not just like what makes up the smallest subatomic particle, right? So the God particle is supposed to say that it's supposed to prove I think who was it? Fuck if I know. Whatever. Point is, I'm not going to go into the specifics, but the point is that single particle is supposed to be like if we were supposed to create it so we could like study it, right? But that single particle is supposed to be like the heaviest in terms of mass. And in terms of in terms of any sort of like subatomic particle, and the creation of that is supposed to it's believed that we created a black hole on Earth, and we've basically enveloped ourselves and our universe, right, our solar system, in a black hole. And doing that, you can go through here too. Actually, I should turn off these lights. I don't want people to fall over that thing.
Don't trip, bro.
So in doing that, they believe that we've been slowly, because nothing escapes a black hole, that we've been slowly just feeling the weird gravitational shifts, and that's been causing all of the unrest and all of the weird cataclysmic events that we've been partaking in these last couple of years.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Yeah. So look that up. But okay, betting pool time. I told Josh my bet is that that we're going to experience one of these like major space events. Yeah, come through here. I feel bad. I feel like this was the cause of it, but I don't think so.
We should interview.
No, don't be an asshole.
Not to be an asshole.
So the whole spacefaring thing as of late. I've told Josh we've had these conversations about soft disclosure. You ever heard about that?
No.
Okay, so soft disclosure is the idea that like media is released and allowed to have some sort of like sub meaning to it. So we're able to talk to people about we're able to, it's soft disclose. We're able to, without inciting too much panic, tell you that something's happening through a piece of media, right? And the more common example that we use in the podcast is like Dr. Sleep and adrenochrome. Do you know adrenochrome?
Familiar a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so
favorite drug.
It's no, it's the idea that you get like this high off of terrified children because they're the ones who have the most potent kind of it, whatever.
Yeah.
So in Dr. Sleep, they're doing the same thing, but they're taking the fucking essence from someone, right? From a terrified kid. So so in that vein, I feel like there's been a lot of recent media that's been talking about something major hurtling towards Earth.
So not even news, but like movies and shows.
Movies, but
books,
also not even news, but like movies and books, but also the weird like switch that we've been doing towards like spacefaring adventures. I'll give you an example. In excuse me. In terms of what I'm referring to is like you mentioned Don't Look Up, right? Don't Look Up is about this whole movie about these guys discovering a planet killer, right?
Meteor, yeah.
At the same time, there's another movie coming in. I forget the name of it, but it's another space apocalypse adventure kind of movie. What's the word? What's the name?
I don't know which movie. You mean like the word for that kind of thing?
No. There's another fucking movie coming out. I don't even know the name of it, but I've seen trailers all over the place. I've told Josh about it too, but there's another, and I wish I would have come prepared with it, but I don't. Then on top of that, you have in the last couple of years, you've had billionaires creating their own space adventures.
Elon Musk, the Amazon guy, Bezos.
Yeah. But all of these things that they're doing is, I get the feeling that it's like, oh, it's these billionaires trying to leave the planet because they know something's up, right? And we had more recently the James Webb Telescope. Here's what's weird to me about the James Webb Telescope. It was all over the fucking news in the last year, in the last week or so, right? I pretty heavily follow like science literature and science like news.
That's awesome.
There was a disaster like 2 or 3 years ago that had happened to do with the unfolding or the dismantling of a telescope that was being built here on Earth, right? There was not going to be like a space telescope. It's going to be like a radar facility sort of here on Earth.
Yeah.
And that was destroyed somehow. There was a major construction problem, right? Which they believe set us back like 30 or 40 years in space exploration, right? Then all of a sudden, the James Webb Telescope, something that's supposed to be more accurate and more technologically advanced than the fucking Hubble telescope, gets shot into space and opens up with, I think it was like 900 points of error, and none of them failed, right? 900 points of failure, and none of them failed. Everything went unfolded correctly, and it's been deployed successfully. And I heard nothing about this. That's the weird thing for me. Is like I heard nothing about this in that time.
I didn't either. Today, as a matter of fact, I just had my first, because I had my first week of LCC semester, and from my physics professor that I had that class today, that's the first time I heard about that James Webb fella and his telescope that he launched out in space. And he was saying how it's meant for us to kind of see things further in outer space and be able to predict more of what could happen in the future if there is a freaking meteor or something.
Kind of in line with that whole thing of like, oh, hey, what if we find something that's like a planet killer?
Yeah.
Right. And then
how to prepare.
What was funny is the same day that I was telling Josh, I was like, I get the feeling that all these like weird major events are going to start happening. And we're going to be getting news, we're getting distracted about other things. Like, I don't want to call it COVID a distraction because I think it's very real, but we're focused on that, and we're staying focused on that because the next thing that's coming is going to be likely scarier, which I don't like to say, but it's true.
Like how they say they have bullshit filler news because they're trying to distract us from like important crazy things.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was the whole between the Ghislaine Maxwell trial versus Kyle Rittenhouse. We talked about that on 40F. I'm not going to really go into that a little bit more, but Yeah, so exactly, right. And then now we have the volcano eruption that's been seen from space, right, which isn't necessarily a huge cataclysmic event, but it was also on an unprecedented scale. Like, they weren't expecting it to erupt like that, right? And they're saying that in no time Yellowstone's going to be the next one.
Yeah.
We're just outside of the predicted zone of effect, I guess, we're just outside of the danger zone.
Here in Laredo?
Yeah, in Laredo.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a geology class last semester and telling us about how Washington State and like Oregon, they have volcano. I don't know if it's Mount St. Helens or no, that's one that went in the 80s, I think. Yeah. No, but another one that is expected to erupt in the next like 5 to 10 years, or we're in the period that it could erupt. So people in Oregon, or like, I don't know, cities like Portland might be wiped out. I don't know. I mean, that's what he said.
That's fucking wild.
He was like, if you see that on the news, you'll remember Dr. Crick.
For me, for the longest time, I remember having batshit substitute teachers that were saying, you're going to get a chip implanted in you, and the serial number for that chip is going to start in 666. Right, and this and that, and I was just
like June 6, 2006.
No, dude, like the number of the beast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was just those conversations. I feel for the longest time have been happening, but so make your bet. What's your cataclysmic event in the betting pool?
When it comes to that, it's always been a big fear. Maybe more recent that there's been like conflicts and stuff, but with like North Korea, fucking Kim Jong-un, he just threats of like nuclear fucking holocaust, and they say the end of the world, like if we ever see it, it's going to be man-made, it's going to be done by humans,
right.
And we're the ones that are going to destroy the earth. Hopefully not, but that's what.
Did you ever hear this whole thing about Elon Musk saying that he'd want to nuke the poles?
No.
To help fix the ozone layer. They mean the geothermic bomb would help stabilize the atmosphere. We would create an atmosphere on Mars if we would do the same thing. So, you ever hear that?
Well, my geology professor, Dr. Rex Crick, who I had last year, at LCC.
We should get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he'd love this. But he was saying how like everyone's freaking out about like climate change and the ice caps melting,
right.
The glaciers melting.
Yeah.
But he said that that's like normal. Like Earth is just like on its own, like just like when the Ice Age happened and like millions of years ago, or I think it was millions, but Ice Age melted down, that the Earth like naturally regulates its temperatures, and that it's just a part. I don't know if it's gonna like make the rest of the world or places like hotter, like the equator, closer to the equator, like uninhabitable, but that it's like not really something to freak out about because it's normal with the Earth and we should be okay. I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah, dude, you're maybe he should stick to geology, man. I don't know.
I think it has to do with geology, study of Earth.
It's study of rocks, isn't it? It's not necessarily Earth science.
Well, geo is the Earth, and rocks come from Earth, but yeah, geology has to do with like the oceans.
Oh, does it?
Ice,
okay, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. What
yeah.
am I thinking is
volcanoes?
Earth science. What is the study of rocks? Is it
mineralogy, maybe?
Oh, really? There's a word for it? I thought it was just geology. Maybe I'm stupid.
We learn about that in geology, yeah. But.
All right. Well, hey, so we're gonna be getting a wrapping right now, wrapping and capping. We'll have another episode soon. I hope you guys enjoyed what you're watching today. And make sure to subscribe to our Facebook page, our YouTube, our Instagram. Follow George on wherever he wants you to follow him. Jorge, fuck, dude. I'm sorry. I'm so used to calling you George.
It's
man.
okay. Everyone does. Well, but
mostly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The real ones call me Jorge.
All right, I'm a real one, so I'll call you Jorge from now on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you have anything you want to plug?
I tweet funny stuff a lot, and I sometimes post funny stuff on Instagram. They're both Jorge Escudero, Dero, SQ the letters. So yeah, check it out.
Right on. All right, guys, this has been Aliens on the Border. We'll catch y'all very soon. Make sure to follow us again on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, TikTok, Pornhub, Dropbox, Gmail.